What's going on, everyone? Hope you are having a great day. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you a podcast which I had recently had with Lama Surya, who is a practitioner of Dzogchen meditation, or the Dzogchen lineage, and he is basically considered the American Lama. And I actually did a YouTube video on Dzogchen meditation discussing it, and generally speaking, I guess you could say I'm a practitioner of it as well. And I had reached out to Lama Surya on Twitter, and we kind of like Twitter buddies. So I actually decided to reach out again and schedule this podcast, which I'm sharing with you right now. I'm only going to show you a little bit of the video here because it was a little bit choppy, a little bit laggy, and I'm improving the video quality of the podcast and just getting better over time. But what I did want to do here is just kind of show you the snippet of video and then encourage you to listen to the whole episode using the link in the description below to We the Ether podcast. And this is episode 35. So I really hope this is enjoyable for you. Please give it a thumbs up if you find it informative, helpful, or if you just liked it. And otherwise, thank you for watching this little intro here. And in advance, thank you for listening to this episode of the We the Ether podcast with Lama Surya. And talk to you soon.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lama Surya, the American Lama, as the Dalai Lama affectionately nicknamed me. And I'm a Buddhist teacher, Lama in the Tibetan meditation and yoga lineage, retreat leader and author of Awakening the Buddha Within, Tibetan Wisdom for the Western World, and many other books, and founder of the Dzogchen Meditation Center and Dzogchen Retreats. And you can find us online. And I'm very dedicated to bringing forth this healing wisdom in our fractious and partisan, violent world. Saved my life and brought inner and at peace and outer harmony to me and my friends and family, and I dedicated my life to this. So this is an invitation, if you're interested, to tap into this deep mine and treasure house.
And if people aren't familiar with Dzogchen, do you mind just kind of overviewing what exactly that is?
Well, I'm a Lama in the lineage of the Dzogchen tradition. It's one of the practices of Tibetan Buddhism, awareness practice, naked awareness practice, self-knowledge, insight, direct access, be Buddha in this lifetime practice, not ritual, not philosophy, monasticism, cosmology, etc., but awareness cultivation, awareness, self-awareness realization, insight, Tibetan mindfulness and meditation. And there are 6 kinds of mindfulness in the Tibetan tradition. So everybody's interested in mindfulness today. We have a lot to say about that. Etc. It's a heart-opening, mind-opening, practice of awakening, and even right now, awakefulness, how we can be awake rather than sleepwalking through our lives right now.
Absolutely.
So-called accidents.
And
listeners.
From listening to one of your recent podcasts, you had correlated Dzogchen with more of a feminine energy, if I'm to use that word, where it is more yielding, not doing. It's more of a non-dualistic point of view. Is that accurate in its description?
Very accurate. Well, you're very astute, Adam. Gnosis, or transcendental wisdom, immanent wisdom, is considered feminine, not female, gender, but feminine, yin, receptive, vast and open, womb-like, rather than yang, male, driving, phallic-like. So feminine, and it's like the ground of being, so we can contact that right now, not trying to build a tower to get to heaven or after we die or later. So there's a lot of ease or authentic naturalness and inner peace and rest and self-love and self-acceptance in that, which naturally brings forth acceptance of others and love of others. It's very difficult to accept others if you can't accept yourself.
Absolutely.
So the feminine principle is very important in the Dzogchen tantras, for example, the special esoteric or even secret texts of Tibet, the tantras. Buddha taught the sutras, and Buddha appeared in the form of various other archetypes, manifestations to teach the tantras, like Tara, the female Buddha, and other archetypes, not just the masculine Buddha in history 2,600 years ago, our teacher, the Buddha, but archetypes who taught the tantras, including female Buddhas and Dakinis, so sky dancers. So that's a very important principle in Dzogchen that really emphasizes that and exploits it even so that we can really rest in ourselves. We don't have to spend our whole lives purifying and changing ourselves and, trying to trim every branch and fruit, nut, and flake from our personality. Just cut the root, see through yourself and be free.
I love that. Yeah, I love the practice of just seeing through and how simple that is. But what I find when it comes to absorbing information, it's almost dimensional in a way where sometimes something as simple as seeing through can just right over someone's head, unless they're in a place where they can adequately absorb that information and then apply it into their day-to-day life.
English, but it's jargon. That's our job, is to translate the translations. It's just like technical talk. It's like jargon.
That's right.
So see through what?
Right.
So that's important. We're, even like mindfulness, mindful of what? So that's important. So mindful of feelings, mindful of thoughts, mindful of others, relational mindfulness, environmental mindfulness, mindful of mind, minding your own mind, minding your business, not wondering what everybody else is thinking of you. So there's a lot to say about these simple terms, even if it's English. Mindfulness is English, but I don't think my mother and my parents use that word.
That's right, yeah. And I find sometimes I'll use certain words either in video content or podcasts, and then people just, they cling on to those words. They get too caught up in them, like staring at the signpost. And then they end up kind of trying to analyze and pick apart my words, and they throw it into this heading of woo-woo or just nonsense because it's not analytical enough for them. So it's part of my practice to try and dissect some of the information that people such as yourself present, as well as more of the analytical scientific data, and then bring it all together sort of in some cohesive way where I can explain it to people where it's approachable for them and at least relatively understandable.
Well, Buddha said you can't please all the people all the time.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was Abe Lincoln. Doesn't matter. It's true. So, we do what we can and we let go. Whatever happens, happens, as it says in Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, which I recommend. So I think that's a very important principle. Again, minding your own business, minding your mind, your heart mind, your, being embodied, not having your mind on the other side of the tennis court. I wonder what they're thinking about, but sitting on your seat, being in your place. And I know this needs to be explained, but I'm just freewheeling here. We could talk about meditation. We could talk about inner peace and yoga, but everybody talks about that. I like to go a little deeper. I've been in this 45 years, and the Mahamudra and Dzogchen, or the non-dual, direct, aware, enlightenment now approach of the high Tibetan Buddhism, like the penthouse of Tibetan Buddhism, is very doable. You don't need foreign languages. You don't need many years of philosophy study or monasticism. You don't need 100,000 bows like people do, and I've done. I got back training in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and in 3-year retreats. We can awaken now, and that's the name of my podcast on the Be Here Now network, is Awakening Now, because this is the message of non-dual awareness, of Vedanta, the non-dual mysticism of Hinduism. It's the message of mystic Christianity and Judaism. Meister Eckhart, Europe's greatest mystic, was all for that. He said, the eye through which I see God is the eye through which he sees me. How can we recognize that I am that, and it is in each of us and all of us, not just I alone am that, and see the divine, the light, the Buddha nature, the Buddha in everyone and everything? That's our challenge, and that's what we're talking about with direct access and now. And that's about awareness and insight and cultivating subtle discernment and deeper seeing, not just praying for it from somebody up in the sky, as it were.
That's right. And there's actually, what you just said kind of brings to mind a Rumi quote, which was, love said to me, there is nothing that is not me, be silent. And it's just simply the act of that non-meditation that's so akin to the practice of Dzogchen, where it's just embracing the great naturalness before you and understanding the connectivity and how everything is just in union in one way or another.
Well, we all love the great Sufi saint and poet Rumi, and I remember one of his poems, so wonderfully translated by Coleman Barks. Not all translations are equal. In that poem, it said, "Oh, beloved, or Lord, I've been knocking on the door for so long, and now you show me I'm knocking from inside."
That's good. That is good.
Unforgettable.
Yeah, beautiful.
Universal.
I love those because you have to come back to them. You can come back to them and revisit them, and they can teach you in a new way every single time.
Yeah, and it's funny, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like looking for love in all the wrong places when love is in us, it comes through loving.
That's right.
Not from outside.
That's right. I actually had...
the divine is in us. And comes through living the divine life and being and acting that way, not just after we die sitting at the right hand of God or praying to get something like the Father Christmas.
Mm-hmm. I actually had someone message me on through the podcast, and they had said they were just seeking advice because they had lost, to them they had lost their lover, and this person was apparently moving on, and they had asked me, how do I maintain my self-love? And I tried to explain to them that self-love is not something that's given to you by yourself, by your ego. It's something that's inherent in all things, and you merely just need to embrace it, open up yourself to it, much like Hanuman or Christ opening the chest and just allowing that heart to shine through.
That's a beautiful universal image of opening the chest and seeing it in there, whatever archetype you see in there. I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
It's helpful to help us to facilitate this opening, Adam, to see what's blocking it.
That's
like,
right.
Just to talk personally, not like this confessional, but like I found fear was blocking it, insecurity and doubt is blocking it, and anxiety or greed is blocking it, and things like that. And then you can factor that in or move that aside temporarily and let somebody in. You can make an experiment.
Right.
Like, what am I really afraid of being seen as I am? Am I that bad?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, something good might happen. Then somebody can love you as you are, not as you present yourself, best foot forward all the time. And then you can relax a little and be more authentic, because naturalness is the way.
That's right.
I mean, that's the teaching of Dzogchen and Mahamudra and Zen. Naturalness and authenticity is the way.